Wonderful Life message for today is titled, Persistence plus Passion Ensures Positive Results. Persistence plus passion ensures positive results. Now, we know that faith is the strength of the soul and loss is the person without it. So we know that faith requires persistence. It's our persistent faith, our persistent turning from the seeming appearances of the world around us and affirming that God is all and good is all, and that God brings forth our good in the most amazing and wonderful ways that brings us into that higher truth of life. Jesus said, you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. But we must know it. We must know it to that point in our consciousness that no matter what confronts us, our first thought is, God is the power within me. God is the power outside of me. God is the all-power, and besides God, besides this infinite intelligence, power, and spirit for good, there's only nothingness. Nothing has a foundation to it to hold it and withstand it against me. And so we take those words in our mind and we realize that we can move through whatever it is that comes into our life experience with a greater grace and a greater ease. And the truth that is woven through all the wisdom of the ages is that God is intelligence, and that if we are to make use of the spiritual laws that govern our relationship with God and with life, we must do so intelligently. All that we need at any given moment is available to us, and rather than believe that something within us is lacking in our ability to receive our good, we must affirm and develop the strength of mind to know that all we need, faith, knowledge, etc., we have. It is inherent within us to seek our connection to the power, the intelligence, and the spirit that is God. Spirit is mind. Spirit is the great invisible. You know, we all live in the state of our own individual mind because God, infinite intelligence, has given us volition, that we can use everything that God has created in our own way. We can use gravity for a great purpose, or we can use gravity to trip things up in our life. We can use electricity to power the lights in a home, or to give us light where there's darkness, or we can use electricity to electrocute someone and put them to death, put their physical body to death, we should say. So we know that everything is intelligence, and it is inherent within us to seek our connection to this power, this intelligence, and this spirit that we call God, for lack of a better word. Any false illusion of separation from God is the error of mankind's attachment to the physical and the belief that the real is material rather than spiritual. The belief that the real is material rather than spiritual. So we think about what it is that's going on in our lives. We can't see gravity, but don't we believe that there's a law of gravity? We can't see the air that we breathe, but don't we live by that air that we breathe, that without that air, that without that oxygen going into our lungs, we would be dead in a minute? Don't we realize that all the most powerful forces in the universe in which we live are invisible, and that's why it's not such a stretch in our mind to believe that great invisible, that intelligence, that power, that spirit that we call God is right where we are, always available to us through our recognition and identification with it that causes it to be present with us. It's always present, but it's not present in our mind until we recognize it, until we bring it into our own individual consciousness as power, as intelligence, as the right ideas, as the right solutions. That Jesus said, you give us this day our daily bread, referring to God the Father, the Spirit. You give us this day our daily bread, and that daily bread symbolizes all that we require today to live to that goal of the joyful life, the abundant life, the wonderful life. Let's look at these words from the American mystic Ernest Holmes from his book, This Thing Called You. He writes, the spiritual genius of Jesus lays in his knowledge of spiritual laws. He dared to believe in the invisible source of his being and to trust it. He was not frightened by the storm, nor by the fears of others. He could say peace to both, and he was able to bring the calm of others to the surface. This is the deep calling unto deep. It is God calling unto God. It is God answering God. So get it firmly fixed in your consciousness that just as there are laws of physics, there are spiritual and mental laws which act in an identical manner. Have confidence in the laws of mind and spirit and in your ability to use them, That's why Jesus taught in parables, so that we could understand these profound laws that he was teaching. Just like in the parable of the talents, he tells us, he who has much will have even greater still. Because if we go around thinking that we don't have anything, or that we have so little, or that somehow we're inferior to other people, or whatever it is that our life quality of life is less than someone else's, then we will have even less. And, we see that in the world in which we live. We see that in our politics. Excuse me. You have people that resent the good of others who are coming into our country for a better life, and then you see others who are resenting people who have acquired great success and wealth. So this resentment towards others, this holding our good feelings, our givingness, our forgivingness of whatever it is that's going on in our mind, that withholds from others the good, or wants to diminish somebody else's good, thinking that will give us more good. It's what holds so many people in lack and limitation and poverty and illness. We can't withhold from others and have more for ourselves. There's enough for everyone, enough to share and to spare. You give us this day our daily bread. God is our source. God is that you, that infinite spirit, intelligence, and power, that infinite source that's beyond anything our human mind can conceive. You give it to us. And if we're not getting it, that means we're not asking so we can receive. We're not seeking in our mind a greater truth, a greater connection with God. We're not knocking on the door and letting those doors of opportunity open for us to realize that greater life experience. Asking you shall receive, seeking you shall find, knock and the doors will be open unto you. Those are spiritual laws. Those aren't just pretty sayings that make us all feel better when we walk out of our churches and so forth and centers on Sunday. Those are real, actual principles, just like 2 times 2 equals 4. 4 times 4 equals 16. Do we need to go on with that? No, we don't. So the way in which we gain confidence in anything is to tell ourselves that we are confident in our abilities and talents and to affirm this is the truth about us every day. Our mind is a powerful instrument of our soul. We must use it with confidence and faith. We must believe in ourselves and develop the confidence to know that our mind, used intelligently, is more powerful than anything that we may be confronted with. We can use our mind to become self-reliant and establish the determination to succeed in all that we do, to be healthy and to be happy. But it's up to us to establish that within our consciousness. And we can do it. We can do it. We all have the ability to do it. Go back to those simple words. Ask and you shall receive. What does ask mean in the language of Jesus? The Aramaic language? Ask meant claim. Claim your good. Name it and claim it. But make sure that when you name it, it doesn't diminish anyone else in any way, shape, or form, nor does it take anything away from anyone else, nor does it hold any sense of resentment or shame or blame or anything else that holds us back from being open and receptive to the greatest good that God has for us, to be open and receptive to that great invisible abundance that's always available, always seeking to find its right and perfect complement within us. Let's look at these words from the great Dr. Norman Vincent's appeal. He starts with the Gospel of Luke 17:21. The kingdom of God is within you. He says, when you are filled with self-doubt and in the grip of your inferiority complex, don't give up saying, I can't do it, I have an it in me. You do have a very big it within you. You have the kingdom of God within you. That kingdom is intelligence, it's power, it's spirit. God has placed in your personality all the ability you need. You have only to believe in yourself, and strength within you will be released. And just know that God's abundance, peace, and power are within you, and that you lack for nothing, and you draw those things into your life in the most wonderful and beautiful way. So we allow ourselves to believe these things, knowing that we're establishing that higher truth in our mind, that higher possibility, that higher potential. We're waking up that imprisoned splendor within us that knows that it knows, and believes, because everything around us that we see, that we're conscious of, that we have an awareness of, gives us evidence that our faith is an intelligent response to all things that happen in the universe. But we must know it. We must know it. Let's look again at those words from Dr. Holmes. The spiritual genius of Jesus lay in his knowledge of spiritual laws. He dared to believe in the invisible source of his being and to trust it. He was not frightened by the storm, nor by the fears of others. He could say peace to both. He was able to bring the calm of others to the surface. This is deep calling unto deep. It is God calling unto God. It is God answering God. So get it firmly fixed in your consciousness that just as there are laws of physics, there are spiritual and mental laws which act in an identical manner. Have confidence in the laws of mind and spirit and in your ability to use them. Excuse me. So let's think about that. How much confidence do we have in ourselves? Are we confident that God has instilled in us a part of its own nature? I mean, we're all intelligent. We can all realize 2 times 2 equals 4. Some people say, well, even a child can realize that. Well, no. If that child didn't have the intelligence of God inherent within them, they wouldn't know it. Just like if we didn't have the Spirit of God within us, inherent within us, well, our body wouldn't be animated. Our body would look like that turkey on the table on Thanksgiving Day. It would be lifeless. And if we didn't have the faith, the power of faith inherent within us, then we wouldn't have the faith to get up and think about anything. We wouldn't even think about tomorrow. There would be the word tomorrow would be eliminated from our vocabulary because we wouldn't have any faith that there would be a tomorrow. So we start thinking about all these little things that add up to this great infinite intelligence that's throughout the universe that's also within you and me and everyone. So Dr. Holmes tells us, with a good-natured flexibility with yourself, learn to rise from confusion into peace, from sadness into joy. There is no law for you, but your own soul shall set it. There is no law for you, but your own soul shall set it. Under the one great law of all life. So turn to the light within, believe in yourself, have confidence in the high impulsions that come to you. Listen deeply to the divine nature which forever imparts itself to you. Spirit is absolute, unlimited, and ever available. Spirit, invisible, intelligent power of God is right where you are. The Spirit of God fills all space, flows through all form, creates everything, governs everything through love, controls everything through law, and expresses life and beauty in everything. Wow, that is so powerful. Let's look at that again. This is from the American mystic Ernest Holmes, from his book, This Thing Called You. This Thing Called You. You can find that book on Amazon.com or BarnesandNoble.com. He writes, with a good-natured flexibility with yourself. He means don't be fixed on how things have to be, but be open and receptive to God making things greater and more wonderful and more marvelous than you've ever imagined them to be. So with a good-natured flexibility with yourself, learn to rise from confusion into peace, from sadness into joy. There is no law for you, but your own soul shall set it under the one great law of all life. And that law is, as Jesus gave us, the law of sowing and reaping. As you believe, and so it is unto you. To the degree that you believe in the good, the good shall be made manifest for you. So turn to the light within. Believe in yourself. Have confidence in the high impulsions that come to you, those wonderful ideas that come to you. Listen deeply to the divine nature, which forevermore imparts itself to you. God, infinite spirit, is absolute, unlimited, and always available. The Spirit of God is right where we are. Spirit fills all space, flows through all form, creates everything, governs everything through love, and controls everything through law, expresses life and beauty in every living thing. So let's know this is the truth for all of us. It's the same truth that Jesus was teaching. He said, I and the Father are one. But that infinite I is within you and me too. That I and the Father are one. I and the Spirit, I and the intelligence, I and the power of God are one and connected because God is life. And I am alive, so I know that I am connected with God. God lives in you and me. God lives in you and me. God is. God is the life of us, the spirit of us, the awareness of us, the imagination of us, everything about us is God's spirit. God's spirit expressing through us as an instrument of God's love, God's livingness, God's givingness, and God's forgivingness. So let us devote our time to thinking about what we want to experience in our lives. Let's think about the degree of health that we accept for ourselves. Think about the level of wealth that we want to realize for ourselves. Think about the sheer beauty that our soul senses when we experience happiness and joy. Let us build within our mind, our heart, and our soul a kingdom of heaven within us that's so splendid and so marvelous that our thoughts lift us above all the seeming negatives that confront us. Let's look up above the physical and the material and affirm the greater things still that we shall experience through the power of our mind in tune with the infinite intelligence, power, and spirit that we call God. With persistence plus passion for the good that we desire, we shall ensure the positive results that we desire. We shall ensure the positive results that we desire. Let's finish with these words from the great Ralph Waldo Emerson. This is from the great Ralph Waldo Emerson. Remember, the greatest essay ever written by an American philosopher was Emerson's self-reliance. So Emerson tells us to get up each morning with the resolve to be happy is to set our own conditions to the events of the day. To do this is to condition circumstances instead of being conditioned by them. This is from Emerson. To get up each morning with the resolve to be happy is to set our own conditions to the events of each day. To do this is to condition circumstances instead of being conditioned by them. In other words, he's telling us what Jesus knew, Isaiah knew, Jeremiah knew, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John knew, that there's a power in our decisions. There's a power within us that when we speak that I am, that no one else can say for us. That's the dominion and authority that God has given us over those things that concern us and no one else. We can't speak the good for anyone else and accept it for them. If we speak the good for someone else, we pray for someone else, they must accept it, otherwise nothing happens. So we can say, I am in this moment making the decision today and every day to be happy and to set my own conditions to the events of each day. And I know that to do this is to condition circumstances instead of being conditioned by them. And so I make this decision every day to resolve to be happy, to resolve to look through the seeming appearances. Just as the mastermind Jesus said, don't judge by the appearance, but look up and not down. Look away from the physical and the material and know that you are in the flow of the divine goodness. in the flow of the divine abundance, in the midst of all that is necessary for you to enjoy the good life, the joyful life, the abundant life, and the